welcome to Traveling Inside Out. This is Alina, your host. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the podcast that explores the world within and out. And thank you for subscribing to Traveling Inside Out, wherever you get your podcast from. And once again, I have my friend Andra with me. Hi, Andra. I'm not even going to say good morning anymore.
Hi, yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever. Yes, it's again afternoon here, but not so.
It's before 9 a.m. where I am currently. How are you, Andra? How's your week going so far?
Oh, it's been really rainy,
Mm.
and I'm already kind of trying to get into the Christmas spirit, the holiday spirit. But because of all the rain that we've had lately, it's so difficult. I'm not used to having this much rain in December, especially in Romania, in this part of the country, in Transylvania, where I am. When I was a kid, we used to have so much snow, starting with November, but obviously, it's not the case anymore. So yeah, it's more like decorating inside and not outside, because if I put up my Christmas lights in the rain, it just feels very weird. But
And
how's
wrong.
New York these days?
We did have a rainstorm the other day. I don't think that it was that bad where we were, but we got like a warning of like life threatening and so on. It has been really warm, which is very annoying. It's like for Americans, you just need to switch to Celsius. I don't know Fahrenheit. But it has been like over 10 degrees in mid of
Yeah.
December. It's insane. Like it's like I think
Mhm.
in the on Saturday we had 14 degrees Celsius.
Oh wow.
So like no, I refuse. But it's a perfect segue because today we're going to talk about the holidays, and I did want to start with the weather because I don't even know how much I said probably about this in the past, but throughout my life I lived in different parts in Romania, in different like regionally speaking. I lived somewhere in the mountains, but I was 2 years old when we left, so I have no memory of that. Then we lived by the seaside, which is in the southeast of the country, and then we moved back close to the mountains, somewhere in the center of the country, and then later on a little bit more to the north. So I remember having winter, like proper winter, proper snow. And as you were saying, it was starting summer in November and it would
Mhm.
last until end of February ish, maybe sometimes even March. As my
In March.
birthday is in March, it was never like it was crazy if it was snowing in March.
Mhm.
So like on my birthday, which is at close to end of March. So first and foremost, did you live growing up until before let's say high school included more or less? Did you live in the same house in the same place?
Mostly. When I was like 5, we moved with my parents to where I lived until I basically moved out to college. So yeah, we were in the same house for quite some years. Yeah, for like at least
And
10
that's
years.
also in the north of the country.
Yes, it's in the northwestern part of
Mhm.
Romania. It's I guess you could say Transylvania, because people know more about Transylvania than other parts of Romania, I guess.
And how are the winter? And I remember as a kid, I mean, I am still short as a full on adult, but obviously as a kid, I was also very short. So um, there were mountains in my child's brain of snow, piles and piles and piles and piles of snow. And we would literally have, like tiny that like snow that was shoveled as
Mhm.
a trail that you would go like when we would go to school or stuff like that.
I agree. I remember the same, that when I would wake up in the morning to get ready for school, my dad was already outside just shoveling snow so we could get out of the, not even out of the yard, but like inside the yard to get to the main gate into the garage, because our house didn't have an inside door to go to the garage. You had to go outside, and then
Mhm.
like the, yeah, in Romania back then, like the garage didn't communicate with the inside of the house, so he would like have to shovel for like 20 minutes to get out, to get the car out, so we could all go to, like, they could take me to school and whatever. So it was, there was a lot of snow. And I remember that in the winter holidays, for many many years, we would go with the neighbors kids, everybody on the street. We had a little like a little hill, closer to the, the
Yes.
outskirts, right? And we would all go sleighing there from morning until the evening, and our parents had to come there because we didn't have phones. They had to come there and call us to come home and have lunch, because we would forget to eat for hours and hours. And then, our moms would sometimes like come together, because if only one mom would come to call her kid, the kid wouldn't go because he wouldn't want to leave their friends. And so
Oh, so
like the moms, we had to come together, at least two or three, because then we would be like, okay, if my best friend's going home to eat, I'm gonna come
then
too.
yeah, yes, I fully agree with that. I remember, so um, I lived in the southeastern part of the country between 2 years old and 8 years old.
So like
So I have,
opposite,
yeah,
um
we were on the opposite sides at that
us.
age. Yes, we were on the other corners of the country, 100%. Um, and I remember I have because again it was between 2 and 8 years old. I have bits and bits of memories, but I remember there was very close to our house, and we would just not come home until we would be completely frozen.
Hmm.
So, and then my mom were just changing us, and if it was not late enough, we would go back out.
Yeah, yeah,
And
true.
that was amazing. Like she's like, okay, take all of take this. And that was honestly one of really good core memories, because she wouldn't, you know how there are some parents that they would like argue with the kid, like, why
Mhm.
are you so la 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 la, you know. But
Yeah.
I also have to say that I have an older sibling while you don't. And so for me it was mostly where he was going, that's where I was going, so I had
Okay.
no decision no fact, like nothing.
But there's also an
um
advantage to that, because your parents always knew that you're safe if you're with him,
which
right?
also, yeah, which also says that I would go home when he would go home, so because he
Yes.
was older I would go home technically a bit later than people, maybe children my age. So yeah, for sure, 100% advantage. Yay me.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
no, it's actually, it sounds good. Yeah, I didn't have, I was an only child, and for me, I was always with, I had two or three friends that were really like our neighbors' kids, and we were like four girls that were like always together. So whenever one of us had to go home, then we would be like, yeah, okay, let's all go home, or something like that. Or it was because, yeah, we were all girls and we were all kind of small, so our parents knew that we're together, but yeah, we have to come back together.
it was working like this, especially back then in the 90s, early 2000s, since we didn't have no phones and everything. As soon as
Mhm.
the sun sets, you come home.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking about this, that how did it work in Iceland? Because in winter, there's almost no light, and in summer,
It's almost
there's
dark.
like, how are you educating? How are you teaching your children the
What is the
basics?
rule? Yeah.
That being said, so we in general, I think this is like a national thing. I don't think it's any difference, the fact that we had like proper 2 weeks, I think, of Christmas, like holidays,
Yeah,
as
yeah. It was the
children, I
week
mean.
before Christmas and the week after, the week between Christmas and New Year's, I think. And yeah, like in January, early January, I think we went back to school. Like,
Yes, because it's also my saint names day
mm,
in on January 7th, and I
right.
don't remember. Rarely was I at school for that, so
Oh,
I think we were like not immediately after New Year's Eve. It was a few, like I think the week,
yeah, like the
whenever
first
Monday,
week of
because
July.
we would not start. Did you ever start, like, weren't you starting like on a Monday? It wasn't like the day, it was like the Monday,
Yeah,
and
it's
you
true. Yeah,
had work, right? It was
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. It
It
was the
wasn't
next
this
Monday
day.
after the
Yeah.
second or something. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to let's go back in the past. Let's start from the past and then we come back.
Mhm.
I'm gonna try to get all the way to high school maybe, but let's see how we stay one time. So I'm curious in the let's say obviously how much you remember, but let's say the first 5 years of your life, whatever you can remember, if anything,
Okay.
regarding the holidays. So I'm curious if you number one being in kindergarten, let's say until 7. Did you go to school at 7 years old or later or earlier?
Seven. Yeah, right before seven, turning seven.
Let's say until 7 years old. So we talk kindergarten.
Hmm.
Yeah? So all the way through kindergarten. I am curious if you number one, did you have Santa Claus coming to your kindergarten? Uh, was that like a play or like a
Yeah, like the
something?
little celebration thing that
Yeah,
they do.
something like that. First and foremost, did you have something like this? So, number one, did you have something like a celebration? Were you part of it? Did Santa Claus come? Did you believe that that's the actual Santa Claus? And then I'm gonna continue.
Huh. Good questions. I guess when I was in kindergarten, I kind of switched kindergartens for a while because when I was very little, I used to live in one city with my parents in Bayamata. Then we moved for a couple of years between the ages of 2 and 5. We moved to Cluj for a bit, which is a different
Mhm,
city, and then after 5, we came back and we stayed.
mhm.
Yeah, that's where we stayed until I moved to college. So I kind of switched kindergartens a lot, and I don't remember actually having any specific Christmas celebrations or Santa Claus coming. I
What?
do remember
I'm
having
already
those.
shocked.
Yeah, I do remember having those in school for sure, like starting with the first grade and singing all the carols and doing the little poems and everything, and having Santa Claus come and give us presents. But by the time he came to yeah, like you said, until school. So before that, not so much. I remember one time I was going somewhere with my parents. I think it was like a little, well, it was before we had malls in Romania, but it was like one of those like big,
Shopping center. It's called
yes, like
shopping
major
center.
shopping centers. You're right. Yes, thank you. Um, and I did see Santa Claus, and he came over to give me some chocolates, and I don't remember much of him, but I do remember the conversation I had with my grandmother afterwards because she was laughing so much because I was like 4 or
Mhm.
something, and she said if I believe if how was Santa, and I said, oh, he didn't seem very real to me. And I made a comment about his clothes because it looked like they were too thin or something and he would be cold. And also, he had a wedding ring. And in my mind, because, in Romania, I don't know if you'd had that and you can tell me, but when I grew up, there was no talk about, Mrs. Claus. It was just like Santa Claus. He's just, the man, right? And I was like, yeah, he had a wedding ring on. He's married. He's definitely fake. And my grandmother was laughing so much that at 4 years old, I looked at the man's wedding ring and somehow I decided that he was fake. So I don't know. I guess somewhere between the ages of 4 and 7, I decided that Santa Claus is not real because I had seen some instances of him like in shopping centers and wherever, and it just felt like, well, it's always a different guy. He's always dressed kind of differently, even though it's red and white, but they're different clothes. So why is he always so different? And his voice is different, so it must not be real. So somehow, yeah, I decided that it wasn't. But until school, until like actual first grade, with I don't remember having a celebration where Santa would come to listen to us, singing all the carols and give us presents. Well, obviously you did because you said you're shocked when, when I mentioned this. So
Okay.
tell me
I
more about
have I've realized I have pictures that I'm gonna
it.
ask you to add them afterwards. Okay. I have
Yes.
pictures of me with Santa from kindergarten times.
Okay, from kindergarten. That's great. Yeah.
So unfortunately, I didn't think to just have them ready and just show it to you now, but like we're going to add them in post. So
Yeah.
first and foremost, I was also very curious if you remember the moment when you realized that Santa is not real, and you just said it just kind of happened. So that's perfect because I wanted to talk about that as well. I personally do not remember when. So I don't know nowadays. I don't know if you've noticed, but nowadays it looks like it's so traumatic for children to find out that Santa is not real. And I don't have the memory
Oh, me
of
neither.
me switching from believing in Santa and switching to not believing in Santa. Like, I don't have that memory. But yes, we did have short plays in which you say poems to Santa
Hmm.
Claus. I don't remember if in my mind did I really believe that that's Santa. In I think in my mind, and it's probably that says a lot about my, like, if you think psychologically speaking, says a lot about me. But I never felt that that's the real. I thought that is like a stand-in, like I
Hmm.
didn't think that Santa is not real. I just thought, no, that's not the real Santa, but there needs to be someone, because there's no way, like in my mind, it's like there was never just one man.
Okay.
There were like individuals that would help Santa, because how on earth
You
would
can't
he
be in all
do all of the
places.
things that,
Right.
yeah. So in I was never devastated about remembering Santa. But yes, I did have kindergarten plays. I did say poems. I do have pictures. I think I have two from kindergarten. Um and I do remember something, and please tell me how it was in your case. I did not have Santa. I don't remember actually during kindergarten if I would get a present from Santa. I don't think so. But oh, in one of the pictures, you can see now as an adult, I know, and also because my mom told me, it was the cleaning lady.
Oh, poor woman.
The cleaning lady. And I hated her because she kept biting my arms because I was chubby. And she kept biting my arms and I hated her.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
Anyway, the point is that I, growing up, again, up to school, we never had Santa Claus giving me Christmas presents.
Hmm.
So what happened was that, and now we can segue into this. We went caroling. So then I'm going to ask you about your caroling, but we went caroling. So again, I'm talking about up to school. So then I was still in Southeast. We would have, because the place where we were living, there were like a bunch of tiny houses that were all people from my parents' job, and they used to work construction. So there's like the whole families living there were people that were my parents' colleagues, basically. So all of their children, we were all together, basically.
Hmm.
So we would go caroling to everyone, because all of the children would go caroling to, like we would
Each other's
basically
houses.
just, yeah, exactly. So I never went to random houses caroling, like ever. Like I would personally know the person. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it would be
Yeah,
the
yeah.
parent of a kid that I knew. I wouldn't just go like, go down this street and go caroling. That never happened. Like I've never done
Hmm.
that. And so by the time we would come back from caroling, Santa Claus have already passed and left the presents.
Right.
Um, so, and from there, I'm gonna segue into 24th versus 25th. But tell me about your caroling experience. Again, we're talking about up to school, yeah, kindergarten.
Yeah, I guess after I started school, after maybe like second or third grade, I didn't really go Christmas caroling too much.
Mm-hmm.
But the little town that I was living in, we had, yeah, back then we were still like a few kids, and we would go not in the entire little town, but like there were two or three main streets, the one that we were living on, and then one that was kind of like adjacent to that where my grandmother used to live, so and two of my friends as well, so we would all like go like on those two streets, and maybe like on the main street as well to a few, to some of the houses that we knew that they would receive us. And we would always get, what did we get? We got apples and walnuts and the little pretzels that they used to make. I don't know what it's called. I don't actually know what they would be called in English, but it's kind of like homemade bread that's kind of like
Say it
um
in Romanian. Let's teach some
Coach,
Romanian to our, huh?
coach, coach. We would
Okay,
call
I
them
don't even know
coach.
what you're talking about.
I know, because that's like I'm pretty
It's
sure that's
original.
yeah. It's just in this area that we call it. Or you can also call them in other areas. I've heard them called poop, like poop or coke,
Nope.
which is
No.
like a little bread thing that's like kneaded, and it's really just a little bread.
Okay. No.
But they kind of look like pretzels. But anyway, and they were very good because they were like
I mean
after
homemade.
the homemade, and they were sometimes when we got them they were still kind of warm because they had just finished making them, and we were all frozen. We had been walking and singing for like 2 3 hours, and I remember one time I was so hungry that like I would sing one line and have a bite, and then pick one line so I can eat, and then sing again, and then take another bite because I was super hungry. So that was fun. And we would all, yeah, of course, the happiest we were when we got some money. They would give us like little small amounts of money, and we would get that, and that was like the best. Oh my god.
So that was the caroling. So how was Santa delivering the presents in your case?
Yeah, by the time I got home, I usually had like a little present under the tree. But by that point, I kind of knew it was my parents
Yeah.
that
Okay.
to leave it. But yes,
Um,
it was on the 24th in the evening that, yeah, after coming back home from caroling, I would find the presents under the Christmas
and
tree.
would you open the presents on the 24th in the evening or on the 25th in the morning?
On the 24th in the evening because
Yes! Me too! Us too! Yes!
yes. Also because my parents, they were so cute. They would get me something that they thought or knew that I was going to like. And they were always a lot more enthusiastic about it than me. They would be like, okay, you have to eat now, and then we're gonna go in the living room and look under the Christmas tree. And they were all like, you have to open it, you have to see if you like it. And of course that's why that it's another reason why I knew it was them, because they were always really cute about the presents. And of course I always liked the things that they got me, even though they didn't have a lot. But they were very excited to see me excited about the presents. So that's why
so
we
then
didn't really wait.
from that, did you have on the 24th, like when was the main Christmas dinner or lunch or whatever it is in your family?
Usually on the 24th we had dinner with my parents, and then on the 25th we would go for lunch with grandparents and all. So I
Oh,
guess,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
because like my grandparents lived in different places, and so yeah, we would go
Mhm.
visit them on the 25th. But I guess I would say for me it was always the 24th in the evening, because it just felt like, I had been outside most of the day. It was cold when I got back in. I was hungry. I was
Mhm.
hungry and cold, and yeah, we would like gather and eat together, and after that it was presents. So yeah, for me that felt like it was the main thing.
And so, okay. So then if we switch into 25th,
Hmm.
how would 25th go? So you said that you would go for lunch to your grandparents. How would breakfast go? Would you have a special breakfast for Christmas morning or not
Um,
really? It's kind of like leftovers from, or I don't know. I don't know. I'm telling you,
yeah,
you know what? Let me tell you what we were doing. I was eating cookies.
I was
I was
going
that
to say the
breakfast
same.
for
Oh my
me on
god.
the 25th. And from cookies, later on, I started helping my mom with making the cookies. I don't think I was helping her that early on. She has a story that she keeps telling about me. I don't know if it was necessarily around Christmas, but it was about making cookies. That she was making like the dough for the cookies, and you have to roll it and then shape it and then bake it. So she gave a tiny dough to me for me to also do. Kind of like I was trying to imitate her.
Hmm.
To the day, she doesn't know what happened. She looked somewhere like she was focusing and she looked back. My dough was pitch black. She's like, I don't remember you having dirty hands. I wouldn't let you touch something with dirty hands. But it was just like, it was so like I had to throw it out. I don't know what you did. Did I? Did I? So she has this story that she's telling me almost every year
Do you
about
remember it or?
I do not remember. I do not have the memory of this. But this is just something that she's been repeating at me. I promise that my cookie skills have improved since then.
I know. I can testify
So
for that.
breakfast on the 25th.
Actually, for me is the same, and it's one of my favorite forbidden things to do, to have cake on the morning after a celebration, or whenever we, like, even for my birthday I have leftover cake for breakfast. It's always cake. I feel gross afterwards. I still do it every time. It's the same for Easter, it's the same for Christmas, yes, because there was so much cake. I would sometimes have a glass of milk next to it, but
Yeah.
I would start always, yeah, with cake. Oh god, I want
Wait.
cake.
There's okay. Let's talk now. Let's go back to dinner because we didn't have cake for Christmas. So let's get into the actual food.
Okay.
Now, first and foremost, this is again a national thing. For Christmas in Romania, most of the food is based on pork because usually in December is when you are a vegetarian right now, but you weren't back then.
Mhm.
Um in Romania, it's in December, it's when you sacrifice the pork and then um you prepare from literally everything and anything out of that pork. And so there's a lot of pork oriented
Oh yes,
dinner.
everything, yes,
So
yeah.
tell me, how was your dinner on a general level? Now you can just say throughout your life, not necessarily, when you were a kid.
um I mean, because I was, we were living in the countryside, and yeah, my grandmother was here, and she would, yeah, she did have, she did raise pigs, and she would sacrifice the pig, and it's one of my worst memories when I was kind of in the area when that happened. So I'm gonna kind of like get over that because we want to go to the food now. But after that, yes, they would make, homemade sausages, homemade pork jelly, homemade everything. Um, and I do remember that yeah, I enjoyed eating for Christmas. I enjoyed eating the sausages with all sorts of things like horseradish. Um, I don't know if that's a thing in other parts of the country, but here you have this kind of like a dip that you make with sour cream and the horseradish, because it's very it kind of cuts the fat of the sausages and the
Yeah,
pork.
the acidity. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I don't. We haven't.
So yeah, we did that. And there's like the pork skins. I think they're called
Yes.
cracklins, things like that.
Hmm.
Um, and what else? Uh,
Actual roast. Did you have like an actual steak or roast, or like what's the
roast.
main thing?
Yeah, like a roasted ham, some sort of a
Hmm.
ham that,
Hmm.
it was
Hmm.
smoked, and then I guess my mom, she put it in the oven with some like spices and things like that, and baked potatoes, and it was good. I can imagine. I mean, I can remember. I enjoyed eating that. Sometimes we would have the cabbage rolls, the sarmale, which is kind of
Hmm.
like traditional, but
Hmm.
also, like the Turkish have it, and other Mediterranean countries even. But we had that, and most of the relatives that I visited for Christmas, they had the cabbage rolls with pork meat and the minced meat, and sauerkraut even. Of course, a lot of pickles. I do love pickles. I was always happy um, to have pickles for Christmas, not just the horseradish thing. And yes, like the homemade cakes, but it's um, like the cakes that have it's more like, well, also cookies, but also things that have like the layers of cream and the dough, and cream and dough and things like that. So I don't actually know. I never came up with I never found a good enough term in English for that kind of a homemade cake, because it's not like the birthday cake, where you cut a big slice with a lot of like
Hmm.
uh, custard and things like that. No, it's like the thing that's like layered and it's
Mhm.
not very soft, and I really like that. I
Mhm.
really like those.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and we
Mm.
had some pies sometimes. Uh,
Somewhat.
pie,
Ah, pie. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, like cheese pie with sour cream. There was a lot of meat and sour cream in everything, and sour cream on meat and on cabbage rolls and everything,
Including on sarmale.
including on the cabbage rolls on top of the meat. Yes. Um, and I remember that there was so much everywhere. Like whenever you would visit anyone, the main point was to eat, like sit down and eat, and then we go to the next person and sit down and eat, and I'm like, again, no. So
Huh.
yeah.
So, did you have everything that you explained, but did you have like basically appetizers and then main and then dessert? Or it was all brought to the table and you eat as you go, whatever you want?
It was
Because that's how we
calm.
had it. We had first appetizers. That mom
Okay.
was in charge. Dad would make the steak slash roast. Then
Okay.
dessert throughout the life I was helping her or and my brother when he was at home or not, depending.
No, I don't think we did too much. I mean, we had I guess because the kind of like the cabbage rolls were the main, they would come in a little bit later. But it was mostly all on the table. Only the dessert would come after
Mm-hmm.
we took everything
Mm-hmm.
out. But
We
no, it
would
was kind of
have
a big feast.
um I'm trying to remember because I might also confuse a bit with New Year's Eve. So I know for a fact that we would have devil eggs for New Year's Eve. That was the thing. I'm trying to remember. I don't know if we had sarmale for both Christmas and New Year's Eve or only New Year's Eve. That I don't remember. We would have like eggplant salad or
Mm-hmm.
fish egg salad. So they would be changing from Christmas to New Year's Eve, and probably my mom, depending on how she would feel and how she could find stuff to buy and stuff like that. Even though the eggplant usually they are being bought in whenever is September or whenever is their season, and then be in the freezer, and then
Yeah,
you
maybe.
keep taking package, and then you make it throughout the winter. That's how
Mm.
we used to do things. Um, and then we didn't make any cakes. It was just cookies and kozonak, obviously. My
Yeah.
dad would be in charge of because my mom she was never a good baker. Like she as in proper, like not cookies but like dough
Mm-hmm.
to rise up, like bread and stuff like that. That was my dad's thing. My mom
That's
was never like she just couldn't, she just couldn't. So that was the one thing that my dad was all the time in charge to do. It was the kozunak, and it was a long time until he managed to nail it. um so that kozonak was what I was eating mostly for Christmas Day in the morning with milk. That's my
mm-hmm.
breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
uh, which kozonak, for who doesn't know, it's kind of like babka in a way, which is like a sweet bread, but it has, depending on how you want it, it can have Turkish delight or it can have walnut paste kind of a thing, sweet paste or stuff like that.
Poppy seeds. I
Um,
like the one with poppy
yeah,
seeds as
with
well.
poppy seeds. Exactly. But we didn't go anywhere because my grandparents were in two different cities, like far
Mm,
away. So we either went there for the holidays, and then that's a completely different memory and completely different experience, or we didn't go anywhere. Like we would not go, I would not go anywhere.
mm-hmm.
And coming back to what you were saying, caroling, I don't remember what we were getting. I don't think we were getting food or anything. And it might be because I was most of the time the smallest, the youngest one.
Mm,
So if we would get money, we would split in how many we were, six, five, 10, I don't remember. And
okay.
probably my brother was in charge of because how is he gonna give me the money? Are you what I'm talking about? So maybe we would get some money. I do not remember. I just remember the caroling of the sake of, I don't even, did you actually feel caroling? Sorry, I'm switching back to caroling, but like, did you feel like you're going caroling because you're wishing them, like caroling is about you wishing people this and that. for the
Right.
holidays, for the New Year, for the la la la. No, for me it was literally I have to get out of the house so Santa Claus can come. Like I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I didn't, and I didn't go to because I wanted money either. Because again, I don't have the memory early, early in my life getting anything out of it.
For me, yeah, like I guess exactly. I never thought of it this way, but yeah, I don't think I went there to feel like, oh, I'm wishing people Merry Christmas. Like I'm because technically, I guess Christmas caroling is about spreading the news that the Christ is born, right?
Yes.
And I mean, I kind of knew that, but I was like, well, I mean, everybody knows he was born. That's why we're celebrating this. So, like, but for me, it was kind of like, I guess the main point of this was to just be out with my friends. That was like it was
Yeah.
fun, and we would
Yeah.
get some things, and
Was
we would get
nice.
some chocolates, and we would get a bit of money, and it was we got a little reward at the end, so that was also good. But for me, it was yeah, like oh, I'm going out with my friends for like 5 hours or 3 hours or whatever.
Or whatever. Yeah. So that's the perfect segue. The fact that you mentioned Jesus being born, because I am now curious to know if there was any religious aspect regarding Christmas in your experience. Did you go to church? Did you like any of these throughout your life, like from very early to before going to university, through high school and so on?
When I was a kid, a young kid, we would sometimes go to church for Christmas and for Easter with my parents and my grandparents. But after I went to school, after I don't know, I guess after the age of 10 and on, my parents got tired of going to church and they got kind of mad at the Orthodox Church. And I was kind of bored also in church. I would still sometimes go with my grandma, but after that, I kind of stopped going to because it just felt like there's no purpose. It was kind of
There was no purpose.
boring, to be honest. I mean, I don't want to be
It was very
offensive,
boring
but
for a
as a kid,
child.
it's so boring, and I was
The
cold, and it was never ending, and yeah.
um I don't know if you've ever watched or if I ever told you about a TV show. It's called Greenleaf.
I
Maybe
haven't
it's
seen
on
it.
Netflix. Don't remember. I think it's on Netflix, or it was. I don't know. It finished. I think it had like 5 seasons or something like that, and it was like the main subject was about a minister and his family, and they were all black. So it was a very interesting. I watched that show because I was fascinated about learning about something that I have never experienced. Obviously, I'm an Orthodox and I'm as white as they come from Eastern Europe. So it was so fascinating to see that part that I don't even remember. Maybe I was already dating my husband, maybe, but he kind of had that experience with church and going to church for holidays. I have never gone to church. I'm lying. I have went once to church for around the holidays, Christmas, I mean,
Oh, just once in your
and that
life?
was in Iceland when I visited a friend's up north, and her children were singing in the
Oh,
choir.
that was the only time you went to church for Christmas in your entire life? I didn't know that. Okay.
Isn't that
Did you
crazy?
like it?
I hated it also because I don't understand Icelandic. So I didn't understand I mean, I can assume like I was playing a game because I had the book. I was playing a game to try to figure out where they are.
Oh God, yes.
No, that was the whole thing. So no. No, the answer is no. I'm realizing that those 6 years that I lived in the southeastern part of the country, I don't even know where the church was. And granted that I really don't know. I need to ask my mom. Like now that I'm talking with you, I'm like, I don't know where the church was in town. I have no clue. So I also have to say that that was early 90s, which was soon after the revolution that we had in Romania. And when Romania became a democratic country, the church wasn't well seen back in communism era. So I think it was a switch. It was a a gray area and so on, in my case at least, or in that day, I don't know. But I also have to say that um, I also never I also never went to for Easter uh, for the how is it resurrection of Jesus.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
I've never done that either. So all in all, I barely went to church. But when we moved to in the middle of the country to Mursha, when we moved there, the church was actually not an actual church. It was just a building improvised. It was so tiny, so
Oh,
tiny that I think I went there once as a kid. That we were supposed. Was this only for Easter or was this for Christmas as well? To go and say your sins to the priest to be forgiven. Was
I
that
mean,
only for Easter?
no, I think for in the Orthodox Church you do
Because
it.
I went once and I didn't say anything. He just preached to us for 50 minutes and I was so annoyed because he was preaching like it made no sense. He was preaching at us like a group of kids and I couldn't recognize any of the things that he was saying. He was like, "Wait, who's doing that? What?" Like he was giving me ideas. I was so well behaved, I swear. Like, it was so well behaved. I'm like, "What? Who's lying? Who's mischieving? Like, what are you talking about, man?" Like I was just so outside of my thing. So yes, I did know obviously that it's about Jesus being born and all that, but I have never gone to church. It never meant anything. I've never like none of that in my in my experience.
I mean, I totally understand what you're saying. To me, I'm probably gonna sound terrible by saying this, but to me, it was more meaningful to watch. And sometimes I would actually watch a movie about Jesus. You know, like there were those classical movies like Jesus of Nazareth and whatever. Then the the TV stations would broadcast on Christmas Eve, and for me, watching those was actually more. It was more emotional than going to church because at least those movies were made in such a way that it made you feel like, oh, this there was this really good man and he sacrificed himself because he felt, and like it was a dramatic story about his life. And for me it always felt, I always felt like, yeah, that's more meaningful to watch than to go to church and to listen to something that I didn't understand anything what the priest was saying, and those chantings
That
and everything
too.
else.
That too. The way that they talk.
Yeah, it's it was just so cryptic to me, and so old. Like the language is so old, and so when I was a kid, I was just like, when is this over? I want to go home.
Did you study the I think we talked about this before. Did you study the religion in school? You did.
I
Was
did.
your
I
teacher a priest?
only in high school. Before high school, it was that we actually had like religion teachers. In primary school, it was a woman, and in the Orthodox Church, no woman can be a priest ever, so it was just a teacher. And in middle school, we also had a teacher. He was very much fun, but he was never a priest, and he was young and he was kind of cool, so he made those classes a bit more bearable. In high school, we had a priest, and he actually made us go to confess before the
There
Christmas
you go.
holidays,
How
and we
did
were
that go?
kind of, sorry.
How did that go?
It was kind of weird because we had the religion classes in the morning, right? Like the first thing in the morning, and he was just like, okay, everybody get dressed and we're gonna go confess. And we were like, okay, because we were like 16, and we were like, I guess if he says we're gonna go to church, we're gonna go to church now. But then later on, when I was talking to my classmates, we realized, like, that's kind of abusive because, first of all, not everybody wanted to do it. Like, if and when I came back home and I told my parents, my parents were like, what? How? Like, nobody told us that they were gonna make you confess. Like, my parents wouldn't have agreed because they were like, if you want to go and confess, you go and confess. But if a teacher tells you to do it, like, hell no, we're not gonna agree to that. But it was kind of like expected. Yeah, no, everybody, like, take your coats. We're gonna go to the church next to the school and you're gonna confess. And we were like, okay, and we did that. So that's kind of crazy if you think about it now, isn't it?
Very much so. Very much so. I'm wondering what's happening nowadays in schools, or maybe I should not. Let me
Yeah,
not ask
maybe we
questions that
shouldn't go there.
I'm not prepared to get the answer.
Yeah.
Um, so now switching back from the religion and going back to Christmas tree. So I'm curious to learn. I'm going to tell you again what we were doing, and then you tell me what you are doing. Number one, where we were taking the Christmas tree from. The majority of the time, we would get it through my parents' work.
Okay.
So they were, I would say, on a discount or something, or either like a cheaper deal.
Mm-hmm.
But um, I don't know how to say this not to sound that I'm putting down one of my parents, but my dad was never the one who would like push through to get the best thing. Like he would never. That would be my mom, but it would be his deal basically.
I
So
see.
and he would never. And my mom would be like, oh. So we didn't have the best Christmas trees. They were all a little bit wonky because we would not be one of the first ones to choose.
I see.
I'm also thinking that the first ones to choose would be someone higher in the rank at
Right.
his or their work because they worked in the same place. Um, but yeah, so that's number one. We always, I think, maybe rarely we actually went to a Christmas tree like market and got,
Mm-hmm.
but most of the time was through their work. Um, and then we would decorate it on the 24th. We would decorate it on the 24th because our cleaning would not be done. Because again, both of my parents were working.
Mm.
My dad wasn't helping that much with the course inside the house. So mom was the one in charge. And when we were in school, up until we were in school, and then when we stopped the school, I would start helping and my brother as well. And we would, did you beat the carpet, Sandra? Did you do that? We would
I
have
did
to
so
beat
much
the
with my
carpet.
my dad
um,
was the one to beat the carpets. Yeah.
and back then it was kind of nicer at times because we would have full snow, so you can just put it on snow.
Yes.
Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, we would decorate on the 24th. I do not remember my dad helping with decorating the tree. I don't know. I don't like throughout my life. I don't have the memory of him. What I have the memory of him is that we would have the um the the chocolate candy, like Christmas candy
Mhm.
that you can put in trees, and he would just eat, and he would leave it in the tree to deceive us.
The
That-
wraps. Oh, I hate that so much. My dad
yes,
used to do that
but
as
you
well. I
eat that
hated it.
and then you grab it and it's empty. Oh my god! But anyway, so my brother and I, and then my mom, we would decorate the tree. We would have cats at some point throughout life, and the cats obviously we almost burned the house down once because
Oh my god.
the tree fell just like under the tree on the other side of the wall, but because the tree fell, there was a heater,
Oh, snap.
and the heater was like had, oh my god, when you think about how many things could have killed us,
How
oh
are
my
you
god,
alive today?
I don't know, Andra. Oh no, I got stuck again.
Great position to be stuck in, actually.
That's great. That's great. Um, but yeah, so decorating was on 24th, like in the afternoon, or I don't even remember if we did that on the 23rd. I don't even remember that, to be honest with you. But we would do the cleaning all the way up to the 23rd, maybe even 24th in the morning. Are you still there, Andra?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
You're still frozen,
Uh,
but I can hear you.
yeah, that's okay. That's it's so funny. We're gonna leave that like that because it's way too funny. The way that I got stuck with my hands under the glasses. That's too funny. I love that. I really love
It's
that.
like we're playing peekaboo. It's fun. It's really fun.
Okay. So that's my Christmas decorating story. Tell me about yours.
When I was a kid and when my grandparents were still alive, um, they would sometimes, like they came over or we would go to their place, but My dad and my grandpa, they used to go to like the farmers market, and they would buy a tree and they would come back with the tree, and then my mom and I and maybe my grandma would help, and we would decorate it. I still have a lot of like the Christmas, globes that you hang in the tree that are made of glass, and that my grandmother used to have. Some of them are,
Mhm.
they are broken,
Mhm.
because with the time passing, they just didn't survive.
Mhm.
But some of them I still do, and they're faded. But I kind of keep. I don't put them up anymore because the cats, like you mentioned,
Yes.
because of them. Um, but for many years now, like 15 years or even more, oh, close to 20, I think. We don't put up a natural tree anymore because it just, we have like one of those artificial ones. We open it, we fix it nicely, and then we put stuff on it. It's just, I guess because of it's more. I mean, it's made of plastic, so it's not necessarily eco-friendly, but it's the same tree I've had for the last 15 years. So I
Mhm.
don't want to cut trees anymore. I do like the idea of having a tree in a pot, and that you can
Mhm.
replant afterwards. I think that's really cool. But I haven't done that, not yet. But ever since, where I wanted to get with this story, so when we got the tree, it was usually, after the 20th, the 22nd, maybe, that we would get the tree, because the natural tree doesn't stay for so long. Obviously, it starts losing.
Mhm.
So we would decorate it closer to Christmas. But after we got the artificial one, my mom, as soon as it was December 1st, she would be like, time to put up the tree. And I was like, already? And she was like, yeah, let's do it, it's fun, I want Christmas to come. And then she was also always like, right after the New Year's, like January 2nd or 3rd, she would be like, okay, time to take it off, I'm ready for spring. She was, for her, this was the schedule. And I was it was always fun to do it with her. My dad was like, yeah, I'm you guys do your thing. If you need me to help setting it up, I will. I'll bring you the decorations, but you do your thing. But she was always like, yeah, December 1st, time for Christmas. And then January 1st, yeah, okay, Christmas is over, holidays are over, spring may come.
It's so interesting because I again, so I told you we were decorating on the 24th. We would keep the Christmas until the 7th. As I said, it's my name's day, but also
Right.
my mom's name's day.
Oh, right,
So
St. John. Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right.
so we would have that as a thing. But in general, I would actually like, I don't like to have it decorated early in December, but I would keep it until end of January, because
I see.
January is way more depressing than December
It is.
in my mind.
You're right. It is. It is.
You know
I
what I
guess
mean? So
my mom was like, you know what, spring should, if we take out the Christmas tree, then it means that we are calling spring. We're not hanging on to like winter. I don't know. It was just, yeah.
I think your mom would love it here, because I was shocked to see last year, January 2nd, most of a lot of shops had stopped, like no more Christmas, and they started having hearts for Valentine's Day,
Oh
like
yes.
January 2nd.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Enough with Christmas and all of that. Hearts for Valentine's Day, like next to the next one. So probably she would love that. The fact that I like, yep, that's switcheroo. Um, these were my main points that I wanted to talk. It sucks that the thing is not back, so
It's so frozen.
that's just how it is. And it's just my fault, because I know your internet is fine, and in general the internet in Romania is quite okay. The one that I have, it's not. But I am curious if, when you think about Christmas throughout your life and so on, if you have any tradition, like, you were just talking about the decorations. And I have to say, we also still have some decorations that Dad had when he was little,
Mm.
and so they are so precious, and we are keeping them like really safe, because it's kind of like very, 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 very precious. But I'm curious if you have any traditions regarding Christmas that you feel like you really care about, or if you started making any of your own traditions because you've been living outside of your parents' house for a while, more or less.
Um, yeah, I guess when I was a kid, more easy somehow. It was easier to, because my parents would, keep little traditions for me because I was a kid, right? Like, oh, Santa has to come. We're gonna do this and that. The things that I really like to do are going to visit Christmas markets. Even in my hometown, or if I'm going somewhere, I like to go, um really see Christmas markets for Christmas, like maybe not even if it's not on Christmas Day, but around Christmas I like to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
I like to drink at least once mulled wine, because I think
Mm.
I really like that. I sometimes make it at home as well, but there's something about, being out in the Christmas
Mm-hmm.
market, and it's cold outside and people and the smells of cinnamon and cloves and everything, and you have a cup of mulled wine, which is not great actually because it's always like super ultra sweet. They put a ton of sugar and it's bad quality wine. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I do like
Mm-hmm.
to do that, and to eat the chimney cake that we
Mm-hmm.
have in this area, the Hungarian traditional thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like to go at least once around Christmas, to go ice skating again. It's
Mm.
in the Christmas markets, but I like to do that. I'm not a very good skater, but I can keep my balance. I can like move a little, not feel super stuck on my skates. And I like to put up Christmas lights outside the house, and also inside a little, yeah, like put up a little Christmas tree, even if it's not very big, because if it's I have 4 cats now, so I just have a tiny tree, and if they like knock it over, I just like put it back up and they knock it over again, and like, it's like this small, so nothing bad can happen.
That's also a tradition.
That, yes, yes, like the I think the tree has been like growing smaller and smaller with the years,
Mm-hmm.
proportionally with the number of cats that I have. The more cats I have, the smaller my tree became.
Kind of makes sense. Kind of
Yeah.
makes sense.
But yeah, like I really do like, I love Christmas markets actually. And in Europe we have really good ones, and obviously also in the US.
Did you know that apparently I was laughing with a friend, with an American friend about it. Apparently, the best Christmas market. Are you? I'm so trying not to laugh. The best Christmas market in the world. It's in Bryant Park in Manhattan. And I was laughing with my American friend. I was like, they've never heard of Europe. I don't like. There's no like. What are they talking about?
In Europe
Um,
we've never heard this before, so
it's that website that is mostly oriented around New York, and obviously, and I'm like,
right,
that's so no, I
right,
no
right.
no. He was saying like, I think even in Asia they might have some nice, some
That is
nicer
actually
Christmas markets.
true.
Um,
South Korea was really, really crazy about Christmas, even though,
mhm,
um, I mean, they're not. I don't actually know if the majority of people are Christian, or Christians and Buddhists are kind of the same, but like Christmas was like really, they love to make everything shine, and it was great. I loved Christmas there
mhm.
because everything was covered in lights.
There you go. Did you know that I don't know how to ice skate?
I don't actually remember if you told me about it, but I think if you had said that you can, I would have remembered that. We
Yeah.
have to go ice
So
skating together the next time we're.
I cannot. I have tried once, but I was on snow, not on ice.
Ah,
I
okay.
was a kid, and I've never tried. I've never. I'm a little bit. I because I also don't roller skate, so I don't have that balance thing,
Yeah. I
and
don't.
I'm clumsy. So and I wear glasses, so I'm scared. Um, but regarding my tradition, when it comes to Christmas, I have started. It's a recent tradition that I have started. When we travel, and by we I mean my husband and I am reminding him that we have this tradition. So we are buying a Christmas ornament from the place that we have been. I think we
Ah,
have by now like four or five. It's
Oh,
just I
that's
just
great.
started like last year, so it's obviously very recent. But I'm going to keep working on these. I wouldn't call the mulled wine a Christmas tradition. I would call it for me a December tradition.
Hmm.
And I used to do that, like to start with December 1st because that's National Day, and that's how I celebrated National Day. But a few times it happened that I was in a very hot country, so I would make mimosas.
At that, it's more appropriate.
So so my mulled wine is not that traditional no more. Um, and I do like to send Christmas postcards. I
Hmm.
do like to do that. I usually send my family and friends, but um, I do like that a lot because my mom used to do that. Growing up, she would send postcard like for Christmas, for New Year's Eve, and then also because my grandfather from my father's side was also has the same name's day, she would also send for that. So
Hmm.
I grew up with just her always buying Christmas postcards and us also getting some from relatives. And I love that. And I'm keeping that. This year, I kind of forced my husband to choose for his parents because I saw that they are also getting a lot of Christmas cards. And when it's someone's birthday, they get like a birthday card. So they are into cards. So I was like, you know what? Buy, like, you need to choose because he's very proud of the way, like, he's always on point with choosing the perfect card. But let's see what happens next year. I got him a Christmas card. He didn't get, I got him, I think, last year as well. He didn't get me. This time around, I told him, could you
Unexpected.
please get me a Christmas card? So, Andra, let's see next year when we talk
In our
in
next
January.
episode, I will want to see
Yeah,
the post
stay tuned,
of the card.
stay tuned to see if my husband got me a Christmas card or not. Do
That's
I
a great
sounded
tradition,
horrible?
actually.
I think that I sound.
It's a great tradition, actually. It's been so many years since I sent a card for holidays, for birthdays, for anything. I should. And I have, I have you. I have quite a few friends that live abroad. I guess it would be nice to send like a physical thing.
I received the only card that I received. I like to send cards and postcards and whatever. The only cards that I received were from some friends this summer because they went to a music festival, Electric Castle,
Hmm.
that I worked. Did I work there twice or only once? I don't remember. But they sent me a postcard from that festival saying like, "Wish you were here," and that was so 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 lovely. I really, because they just asked me for my address. I'm like, "Can you?" And I'm like, "Why?" It's like it's not even my. It's like mid July. What's happening? I was like, "Are they gonna tell me that they have another child?" Like that's what I was thinking. Are they gonna have another child? Like I don't know. Like why? And
Right.
then I just received the fact that they went to that, and it was so sweet. And so, yes, the fact that I know that postcards make me so happy, that's why I keep sending postcards because I'm assuming that maybe it's making other people happy too. Speaking of the postcards, let me just plug my thing really quick. I still have postcards with the best sunsets in the world that I've noticed, and you can
Yeah.
find them at alinaigrad.com/shop. They are still available, few of them left. That being said, Andra, people can find you on YouTube since last month. Did you publish anything?
I think I published one short from my stay in Singapore. Yes.
Awesome. Keep
Last
at
year.
it. Keep at
Yeah.
it. Um, I finished the um, fall trip and I'm starting with the Florida trip that I've already talked on the podcast about, but now I just need to start publishing the shorts. So, yes, that's where people can find you. And this is my YouTube. And that being said, this has been Traveling Inside Out. I forgot to put this too much, too often, whatever. Anyway, regardless, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all of that. I might have a bonus episode. I will see how I feel. But if not, I'm going to publish everything. Am I crazy? No. Ooh, I still have one episode on the 31st.
Oh, nice.
So one more episode on the 31st. That's going to be the bonus that I thought about.
The last one of the year. Wow. Okay.
Last one of the year. And then in January, Andra, get ready to do some. Do you keep New Year's resolutions or not really?
I don't really make resolutions, so that's like
Well, you're gonna make for this podcast. So sorry to let you know.
okay. Okay, I'll get ready. I'll get my list ready.
I'm joking. I'm not forcing you to do something that you don't want. I'm
No,
joking.
actually, I mean, I could. It's just, yeah,
Or at least you can look back. We can look back on the 2023 and decide
yeah.
what we want more of that and what we do not want at all.
Yeah, I already have a few ideas.
Oh, me, what I don't want to happen again. Oh boy.
I know,
Oh,
I know. It hasn't been the greatest of years.
uh, yeah. It's been a challenging year, and I saw a post on Facebook that nobody posted. 2024 is gonna be my year. Are people afraid or what?
Yeah, I think people have said that too
We are
often in the
over
last
it.
few years.
We are
And
over it. We are like 2024. Can you like nicely like
can I
begin?
at least survive? That's
Like let me like
yeah, quietly go about my business. That's all. That's a good enough goal.
that's exactly how I feel. Thank you again for joining me. And thank you also to our listeners. As I was saying, I still have one more episode this year. But other than that, Andra, we're going to see you next year. Woo!
Yes. See you next year. Have a lovely end of 2023 and talk to you soon.
Exactly like that. Bye.
Bye.
This concludes today's episode. Thank you for listening and for reviewing Traveling Inside Out. If you want to get in touch with me, send an email to podcast@alinaigrad.com. And remember, your outer journey begins with inner work. Until next time, bye.